Hey there, folks. Welcome back. So, last episode we finished off our save game system and got the changes in place for setting the GUID on our spawned actors, independently saving the player character information, and also went through and addressed the refactor of my string chop function. Um, and as I mentioned at the end of last episode, this episode we are going to be covering my custom logging functionality that I like to add to, well, pretty much every project I work on, not just games. So to get started with that, we are in the editor here. We do need to add in another class. This is going to be very similar to what we did with our utility function. We're going to go new class, all classes, uObject in this case. We're going to click next and tf logger. Actually, I'm just going to call this one logger. So all right, so live coding kicked off. That's done there. Now we can close out of the editor. Close out. Not actually close or minimize. Not closed. All right, we're going to reload all here. And as you can see, we have the logger files added in. Pretty much the same thing we did with the utilities. We're in the source file. We're just going to leave that. In the header, we can actually clear out all of this. We're going to just leave the pragma ones. So we're going to include some non-Unreal files here. So include string, include windows.h, casing is important here, include fstream, include chrono, and include iostream. All right, so we're going to add a base enum in here. And this is something that's only going to be accessible to code. It's not going to be accessible to blueprints. So just enum error level debug equals 0, error level warning, and you can add in whatever type you want, equals 1, error level error equals 2, error level critical equals 3. And then we're going to go class logger. And we want this to be a singleton. So we're going to go private static logger pointer p instance. So I'm just looking over my other code here just to see, because I got some differences here I wasn't expecting. Oh, I've just got a lot of private functions, that's why. So, okay. And then because it is a singleton, we need to go public static logger pointer get instance. And this is all going to be actually a header file class. So if p instance equals null pointer, p instance equals new logger, return p instance. All right. So now we do have one thing we need to do in the logger source file, and that is quite literally just logger pointer logger p instance equals null pointer. And that's part of a standard C++ singleton. That's the only thing we need in this file. So we're going to go back to the header. Now in the private section, we are going to be adding a stud string path, string ret, care, x path, it's execution path, file name max, get current directory. We want, because we're using normal strings, not wide strings, we want the A variant just to force it. Size of XPath and XPath. And then we want ret equals XPath. Ret plus equal, so plus equal. Now I use a define for this. We're actually going to add that up here. Define log preface. In this case, it's going to be tf log underscore. So it's log preface. And then we need to add in, actually, sorry, we missed a function here. So we're just going to go return ret, ret plus equal dot txt. You could have this txt dot log, whatever you want. It's going to be a plain text file with how this is being written. So this one is just because there is some warnings that get thrown because these are deemed unsafe, even though there's 0 issues with these particular functions. 4996. And then how far down? There's 2 in there. Okay. So then we want pragma warning default 4996. So the first function we're going to be adding in here is stud string today's date as string, stud string ret time t now time, and that's a reference to now to copy it in. Struct tm p time equals std local time, a reference to now, ret plus equal into string. Is that one of my, that's a helper function I've got in here as well. I'm just going to copy this over. Yeah, I'm just going to copy all of these over. So these are down here. And I'll run through these after I've copied them over because it's easier. These are all ones I use all the time. I really need my own little, just pull it in. So that we just need to add it here, ret plus equals today's date as string. All right, so one other thing to copy over, and that's just the public log function. Void add message. So let's run through all of this quickly just to cover what it's doing. So we have a defined preface. This is basically a really easy way for you to change the log file as you need. And you can add things like, let's go if def XYZ, else, and if define log preface devlog. So you could have things like that where this is based on the build version you're doing, things like that. However, I just leave it basic. We have an enum to control our error levels, whether it's a debug warning, a warning, an error, or if it's a critical issue. Gone through, we have the standard singleton setup for C++. We have a pointer to our instance. We have a string here to get our file path for where we want to save the log file. It's where the current executable is running from. So if it's C program files x86 your game.exe, it's going to be in the C program files x86 your game folder. And then we're just adding in the preface, which we have defined up here, the current date, and just making it a text file. And like I said, here you can have it whatever you want. You could leave it without a file type if you want to try and be clandestine. Just a function that gets the current date and converts it to a string. We have a function that gets the current timestamp. Both of these do have some issues regarding the warning of 4996, which is why we have them disabled specifically around these two functions. We disable it, we re-enable it. Quick helper function that I use, which is int to string. A helper function which is error level to string, and that is just so we can have that within our log file. Again, these can be formatted however you want. Standard get the instance, and then our functionality for adding the message to the log file. So you can see logline equals today's date as string, get the current timestamp, error level as string, add the message, and then a new line. Now, one thing you'll notice here, error level as string, then new line. We're not adding a space. You'll notice on every single one of these, I have a space added. Up to you if you want to do that. Copying it to the file path, saving it, closing the file. So that is our basic logger. Now, how you can use that is, let's just pull up one of our classes that we have with, actually get rid of that while we're in here. And this is where we add why we add the to-do. So go view, other windows, where's the to-do list? Task list. And you can filter this down to just your project, current project, log invalid stat. So right here. So stat line component, what we need to do here is include logger. And all we have to do is logger dot get instance add message get stat percentile called with invalid stat type and error level warning. So, and what that will do there is that will just literally write a log entry for that. So copy that message. Let's go here, missing save game. Again, add that up here, include logger. Load game called with invalid save name. log error. F core stat. Other than 3 parts. So, and that just gives you an idea of what sort of things you can do with this. Again, this is custom logging I use. I've used the same setup pretty much everywhere throughout my career. So with that, folks, this is actually a very quick episode just to get the logging in, and hopefully you guys found this useful. As I mentioned in the last episode, next episode we're going to be starting on our interaction component. Thanks for watching. Any comments, questions, or tips, feel free to add them in the comments below, and I will see you in the next episode.